Hey everyone, my name is Nolan. Welcome back to another All the Mods 10 tutorial. And in this episode, we're going to be telling you guys how to auto-craft the processors from Applied Energistics. And that's because if I was to craft something like the 256 mega storage component, you can see 19,000 processors. Yeah, no, manually crafting those in the inscribers is not going to cut it. We're pretty far in my All the Mods tutorials series, and we haven't talked about this yet, which is kind of concerning because up to this point you guys have probably used a lot of processors and I still haven't talked about how to auto-craft them. That's just because in this video I'm going to split it into two sections. The simple version, so if you guys haven't done the intro upgrades yet, I'll cover how to do it without that. But then there's also an advanced version to make it way more efficient. But just make sure you've checked out all my other videos on how to set up an ME system, how to set up pattern providers, and all the inscribers and stuff like that. So let's talk about how to do this. So here we have a pattern provider connected to an ME storage system. This quantum link chamber is just hooked up to this ME system over here. It's just for my tutorial video. So here we have all our gold, diamonds, redstone, and silicon, and Certus quartz being put into here. And those cover the 4 beginner processors: engineering, calculation, logic, and actually that's just 3. Sorry, 3 of them. The more advanced ones like concurrent and quantum aren't going to be discussed in this video. The concurrent processor can be done the same way, and so can the quantum. However, the quantum stuff is going to get its own video because it's way more complex. But basically, when it comes to crafting any of these processors, you can do it the same way. So I won't need to spend a lot of time talking about it. So for the first half of this video, let's go over the beginner automatic process calculator. So for the first half of this video, we're going to discuss the beginner's guide, or the beginner's version of crafting the processors for Applied Energistics. So by now you should have all of these presses, but you probably only have one press. Now you will need to duplicate it for this video, and you can duplicate it by throwing the press into an inscriber and then a block of iron. And this works for all the presses. That block of iron will just duplicate the press. And there we go, there's another calculation press. Now I have 17 of each, you don't need that. You're only gonna need 5 of each press. So yeah, like I said, somehow pipe 32 channels out of your ME system and then just place a pattern provider somewhere along the dense cable line. Now each processor has some subunits here, and each unit is going to get its own pattern provider. So it's very important that you have extra channels here, and that's just the most efficient way of doing this, at least from my experience. So for this one, we'll just go with the calculation processor. Now for each processor, go to the recipe and get all the ingredients like this, and then you're going to click plus into your pattern encoding terminal so you can code into pattern. Now I just got rid of that press. You don't want that because the presses will already be in the machines, so you don't want that in there. You just want the gold ingot turning into the logic circuit. And I just realized I said we do the calculation one, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, calculation. Get rid of this. Make that pattern, and now put that pattern into your pattern provider. Next up, on all 5 faces, surround it with inscribers and make sure that there is a block to connect it to power on the outside. In each of the inscribers, put 1 press into it, and then also go ahead and fill it with acceleration cards to make it as fast as possible. Now, also, another thing for each inscriber, make sure it's auto-exporting. All right, now I'm going to hook all of these up to power. And now if I go to my ME system and I want to craft a calculation circuit, I can do it. I just click start and it will inscribe and make 1. Now, because each of these inscribers can craft 1 at a time and we have 5 of them, we can actually craft 5 at one time. So if I click 10, you will see I will get them in batches of 5. Pretty efficient. Okay, so now we're getting the circuit. Now we actually want to make the processor. So as you can see, we're going to need a silicon press. So I'm going to repeat what I just did here, but this time for silicon. Okay, so now I'm getting the printed calculation circuits and the printed silicon from these 2 pattern providers here. So now I'm going to set up a pattern provider to actually combine all these ingredients to make the processor. So again, we're basically just going to surround this with 5 inscribers, or I guess the first thing you could do is encode the pattern like so, and then put that into the pattern provider, but you can still access it. Okay, so now I'm going to actually test to see if we can make these processors. You can see we have the printed silicon here, the printed calculation circuit, and then those 2 will be combined with redstone to make the calculation processor. So first we're going to craft 1. There we go, we got it. Now, same thing, we should be able to craft these in batches of 5. So we should see 5 and then 10. Cool. Now, if you wanted to craft the engineering processor and then the logic processor, you'd basically just repeat what I've done here. You'll need something to make the circuits, and then something to make the actual processor. We already have the silicon, so we don't need to repeat the silicon. We just need to repeat the core ingredient, the circuit, and then the processor. But these are only crafting in batches of 5. What if instead we could craft in batches of 20? Yeah, 20. We can effectively quadruple our outputs. So just like before, we're gonna need a way to craft the circuits, a way to craft the silicon presses, and a way to craft the actual processors. So the first step, go ahead and place another pattern provider here. And now instead of surrounding these with inscribers, we're gonna surround these with circuit slicers, and it's gonna be 5. And as you can see, these are a little bit more expensive. However, at this stage of the game, you should be able to get all these resources pretty easily. Now, with the inscriber, you're only able to get 1 circuit at a time. With a circuit slicer, you can use a block and craft 9 at a time. And you also don't need the press in there. It will automatically craft based on the ingredient given. But you will need the presses to craft the circuit slicer, so again, just make sure that you're duplicating these. Okay, now again, make sure to fill these with acceleration cards, and then also make sure that you're auto exporting to the pattern provider, and also make sure that they are connected to power. All right, so now we have to set up patterns for all of these. So let's go to the logic circuit this time, and we're going to throw this into our pattern provider like so. And also, because in that other system we don't have a gold block set up, we need to make a pattern for the gold block as well. So we'll put this pattern into our pattern provider with the molecular assemblers. And now I'm going to put the circuit pattern into the pattern provider with the circuit slicers. And now what you will see is we will craft 9 at one time. Okay, so it's not enough to turn auto export on. You actually have to enable the face in order for the auto export. So if your system gets jammed like mine just did, make sure you do that right. But yeah, now you can see we get 9 at one time. However, since we have 5 circuit slicers, we can craft these in batches of 45. So you should see these go up 45. Actually, they're not going up at the same time. But yeah, we were able to get 90 really fast. So because we're gonna need a lot of silicon, we don't wanna get silicon this way. Nah, this is too slow. We wanna get silicon this way. We want the circuits to be sliced so we can get 9 at one time. Or I guess technically we can get 45 at one time. Okay, so again, pattern provider, surround it with circuit slicers. Make sure to connect the circuit slicers to power. Fill them all with acceleration cards and make sure they auto export into the pattern provider. And now we need to change this silicon, printed silicon, to be a block of silicon. And then we also need a recipe for a block of silicon made. So yeah, put the printed silicon into this spot, and then we'll put our block of silicon into this spot. Now the next part is gonna be a little bit different. So when making the circuits, you can do 9 at a time, but when making the processors, you can only do 4 at a time. So now that we're making the circuits for the logic processor, we need to actually craft up the logic processor by combining all the ingredients. So again, another pattern provider. This time, instead of doing circuit slicers, we're going to use crystal assemblers. Connect them all to power. Again, you will need to do the manual exporting, make sure they're all exporting to the right face, and then also make sure you're putting the acceleration cards in them to make it as fast as possible. Okay, now go to the logic processor, go to the crystal assembler section, and then copy that pattern over to a blank pattern, and then you could put that into your pattern provider. And now, if I wanted to craft a logic processor, what you'll notice is I craft 4 at a time. But since there's 5 crystal assemblers, we can craft these in batches of 20. So let's make a lot. You can see now how fast we get these. So much faster than just manually doing it. So yeah, now you can basically repeat this step and this step for all of the other processors you need. Now it is gonna take quite a bit of channels, so just make sure that you have enough channels to do this. But channels really aren't a problem for Applied Energistics, to be honest. So yeah, now for making all your processors, it's way easier and you can make a lot at one time. So thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys all in the next video tutorial. I don't know what that is yet, probably productive bees, but we'll see. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.